The town of Ravenshade was a place where silence lingered longer than the fog that rolled down from the northern cliffs. People rarely spoke after sundown. Doors stayed bolted, curtains were drawn, and streets emptied as if the town itself feared something lurking in the night. For years, whispers circled of a curse, of a figure who walked without a face, a shadow made flesh that drifted between the houses like smoke seeping through cracks. They called him the Faceless Man. It was always the same warning passed through generations. Never look at him directly. Never call his name. Never let him follow you home. But warnings often fade into background noise, especially for outsiders. Clara Winslow, a young journalist from the city, didn't believe in small-town myths. She came to Ravenshade chasing a story she thought would earn her name on the front page of her paper. Stories of the Faceless Man had been popping up in local forums online. Clara was curious, dismissive, and hungry for something sensational. She rented a room in an old inn at the edge of town, ignoring the way the innkeeper's smile faltered when she said she was here to write about the legend. The first night, Clara wandered the narrow cobblestone streets, her recorder in hand. She spoke aloud, narrating for herself. Small-town superstition, exaggerated by fear and folklore. Locals claim sightings of a figure without a face, believed to bring madness or death. I'll need to push harder to find someone who claims first-hand experience. The streets were too quiet, unnervingly so. Even stray dogs avoided the alleys. She heard the faint scrape of something dragging across stone behind her, but when she turned, there was nothing. Only the swaying lanterns and the creeping fog. Clara shook her head. Imagination, she told herself, just nerves in an unfamiliar place. The next morning, Clara went to the town square. Old men sat hunched on benches, women clutched their children's hands too tightly, and the air felt like a church before a funeral. She approached a baker, asked about the Faceless Man. The woman paled instantly, lips pressed tight. Clara laughed lightly. It's just a story, isn't it? The baker whispered. Not a story.
A debt.
Someone once made a deal here, and he is the price that walks. She turned away quickly, refusing another word. Later, Clara cornered an old man near the church. He wouldn't meet her gaze. We don't speak of him, he muttered. Speaking draws him closer. He shuffled away, trembling. By evening, Clara's confidence started to crack. No one would talk. Everyone looked haunted. And then, as dusk fell, she caught her first glimpse. She was walking back toward the inn when she saw him. At first, he appeared like an ordinary man at the end of the street, tall, dressed in black, motionless. But as she blinked, she noticed it. Where his face should be, there was only smooth, pale flesh. No eyes, no mouth, no nose. Just a blank void of human form. Clara froze. The air turned colder, her breath visible. The Faceless Man tilted his head, though he had no eyes to see her with. And then, in the blink of an eye, he was gone, like mist evaporating into night. Heart pounding, Clara ran to her room, bolted the door, and pressed her back to the wall. For hours she listened. Footsteps outside her window. The sound of something brushing against her door. The innkeeper's warning replayed in her head. Never let him follow you home. That night she barely slept. Shadows seemed thicker, silence too deep, and when she finally closed her eyes, she dreamt of faceless people standing in circles around her, their heads turning in unison toward her. The next day, Clara pushed deeper, determined to uncover the truth. In the town's dusty archives, she found fragments of records, reports of disappearances, deaths, and families who fled overnight. A pattern emerged. Every few decades, the sightings returned, each time followed by tragedy. One article, yellowed and nearly torn in half, mentioned an old ritual gone wrong. A group of villagers, long ago, tried to summon something for power and wealth. They were left with him. The Faceless Man wasn't a ghost, nor a demon, but something worse, a tethered spirit, cursed to take from the living what was promised. That evening, Clara recorded her notes by candlelight in the inn. Her voice shook now. I saw him. He isn't folklore. He exists. I don't know what he is, but he watches, waits. The townspeople know him, fear him, feed his silence with their own. The candle flickered violently. Her recorder hissed with static. Then, Clear as if someone sat beside her, a whisper came through. Clara? She froze. No one had ever told him their names. She knocked the recorder to the floor, heart hammering, and realized the mirror across the room was fogging from the inside, as if someone were breathing behind the glass. Slowly she turned. In the reflection stood the faceless man, taller than the room itself, faceless head tilted toward her. But when she spun around, the room was empty. Terror rooted in her chest. She packed her bag. She couldn't stay. She would leave Ravenshade by sunrise. But night had its own plans. The innkeeper stopped her at the door. His face was pale, weary. "It's too late," he said softly. "Once he calls your name, you belong to him." Clara fled anyway. She ran through the fog-drenched streets, past the silent houses, past the empty square. Behind her, footsteps echoed, slow, steady, impossibly loud. She didn't dare look back, but she felt him, closer with every breath. She stumbled toward the edge of town, toward the dark woods. She thought if she crossed the boundary, maybe she could escape. But the trees whispered, the fog thickened, and the footsteps grew louder. Finally, Clara screamed, spinning around with tears streaming down her face. And there he was, inches away, the faceless man's smooth skin where features should be, his blank head leaning forward as though drinking in her fear. Her voice broke as she shouted, "What do you want from me?" No mouth, no lips, yet she heard it, inside her head, rattling her bones. "Your face." The last thing Clara felt was the icy press of his hand against her skin, and then darkness. When the townspeople rose the next morning, they found her recorder lying in the square. On it was her final panicked breaths, followed by silence. And in the mirror of her empty room, faintly etched in condensation, was the shape of a screaming face, her face, trapped inside the glass. From that day on, the townspeople whispered of two faceless figures roaming Ravenshade. One tall, one newly born, and they reminded their children again and again, never look at him, never call his name, never let him follow you home.